Having said that, let's kind of take a step ahead and move into the next segment called Dhande Ki Baat, wherein we'll deep dive into Wint Wealth, the bond space, and the fixed income space, and we'll just dissect and understand the industry from you, right? So, having said that, let's start off with the basics. Why do you call it Wint Wealth? What's the origin story of the name?
Earlier, we had a name called Growfix. So it was kind of a placeholder name, right? And then we started looking at names. So we were very clear it should be short, right? It should be abstract. And because we are on a wealth domain, we were very sure that it should not sound startup-y.
Got it.
So we are very clear कि end में O नहीं आना चाहिए, Zomato जैसा नाम नहीं चाहिए, Swiggy जैसा नाम नहीं चाहिए, या जो भी typical startup की जो नाम होते हैं, नहीं आना चाहिए. It should be a Wint. When you hear Wint, you don't think of a startup generally.
Right.
So that was very clear कि end abrupt होना चाहिए, O, A, ऐसे वैसे syllables पे नहीं होना चाहिए. Short होना चाहिए. And there are a bunch of names that, like, we had a person working on it, our product design, Akash, and he gave it. So he came up with this name. The actual name is WINT, which in Irish means savings.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
We simply removed the D and said Wint.
Acha.
Then it became a sweet name that sounded good, sounded authentic, very short, right? And this, which is what we wanted.
Perfect. Mera actually एक अलग hypothesis था when I heard your name, and I think I heard Wint Wealth's name I think back in 2021 if I'm not wrong, when I was a part of the yatra, and कहीं पे तो when we were doing research about upcoming startups सभी नाम आया था, and my first instinct was that this is what you say, a similar sounding word to mint. So the way you would call it, right, mint wealth, पैसा छापो वैसा, like Wint Wealth is a play on that terms.
हाँ, अच्छा प्ले वगैरह करने हमारा था abstract करना है, because
got it.
We are doing one category today, which is bond. We might expand it to fixed income, eventually to horizontal wealth platforms. But
got it.
Therefore, we wanted something abstract. Growfix was very, very binding about what we are doing. So we wanted abstract.
Understood.
4 letters and not startup.
Fair enough. Perfect. So moving on, why essentially this segment? Why did you choose this domain as such? Or idea kahan se aaya? What was the inspiration for this domain?
Sure. Interesting backstory. So actually, when I left, like when I joined Creative, I was very clear कि कुछ आके करेंगे, बड़ा करेंगे. So whatever money I was saving, I started parking that money in my father's business.
Okay.
So he did a bank loan at about 12%. He said, "I'll give you 11%." I said, "Cool है, मतलब घर का पैसा कहीं जाएगा नहीं. Even if I need it anytime, I'll get it." And I moved on. There used to be a lot of discussion among colleagues at Credit and at attain, saying, you know, कि पैसा कहाँ डालना है, कौन सा म्यूचुअल फंड में डालना है, कौन सा स्टॉक सही है. And people used to ask me also कि तू क्या करता है. And I used to tell them very funnily कि मैं तो बापू के इसमें डाल के बैठा हूँ. And people used to like what I was doing, right? And people used to say, हमको भी डालना है. मैं बोलता था डालो. उनसे कल के टाइम से said, हाँ मुझे डालना है, तू बता कैसे. मैंने मुझे दे दे. He immediately transferred 20,000 to me using Google Pay.
Okay.
And that's what actually stuck me. क्या हो रहा है कि इतना क्यों? Why are people liking this so much? Let's dig down a bit, right? Right. And at the same time, I met a VC who also said that there is a opportunity in fixed income, right? So I connected the dots and realized Indians have crazy obsession with fixed income product. And the product could be something that gives FD plus 2% return, is relatively safe, is not volatile, right? And that's what that's how we came up with first set of products on Wint Wealth. Bonds that give you 10-11% fixed return.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the backstory.
Interesting. I think this is something that I've observed in many of the founders. This thing, right? When I ask them this question, right, ki inspiration kahan se? And it's always very interesting to understand, because to be honest, the reason I ask this question is also a bit selfish, because I also aspire to be a founder someday. Like, ये तो पता है कि यार long time job नहीं कर रहा है. It's going to be something of my own. So it gives me also an area to kind of figure out कि कहाँ से लोगों को inspiration आता है, and I kind of also look in those places.
in fact, what we also, because since you asked, right, at MSWIP, we had realized one thing, we as in the friends, and I told you, right, I had identified 20 set of guys, 22 set of guys who could be potential co-founders. So what I realized here, Abhi, if I get a good problem, I can solve it. So getting hold of a good problem is important. So I said, we decided one thing, let's list down 100 problem statements. Till we list down 100 problem statements, let's not even think of solution.
Got it.
Right. And we listed, because idea was, if you get hold of one problem statement, right, you sort of get emotionally attached to it and you start believing कि इससे कुछ बड़ा बनेगा.
True.
So we said let us write down 100, and we thought it will be fairly easy. शुरुआत के 10-15 लिखना बहुत आसान था, then it got very hard. Right, every day I used to think कि आज कैसे लिखूं मैं उसमें, and it took us 2-3 months. But it refined our vision to look at people lives and problems they face and getting hold of them, right? We said we'll open up that list for anyone who wants to join, and they can pick up any problem and start solving, right?
Okay.
We first list down 100, and we said people, we asked those people, my friends and saying, you can contribute. If you want to pick anyone, you can pick and launch also. I mean, no worries. Right. So once we wrote 100 problems, then for my personal perspective, I ranked them how big is the problem, how passionate I am, and how desperate is the problem. Right. Then I figured out top 5-6, and then obviously simultaneously a lot of things were happening. But the point I'm trying to make is, there is always a method to the madness, right? Startups are no more very intuitive thing. They're as a phenomena, they have been here for 30-40 years, right?
True.
So for most of the things, there are frameworks. Interestingly, most of them are very counterintuitive, right? So you have to figure out, go learn them, right? But there is a method to madness, right? And right, so there is a way of finding problem, and obviously you will connect the dot backwards, right? But there is a way to move forward.
Got it. No, I think that makes perfect sense, and I'll probably also try to implement it and try to actually execute it as well. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next statement, right? So when you identified this problem statement in the industry, what was it that kind of stuck out to saying कि यार ये अभी तक solve क्यों नहीं है? What was the reason that it was not solved yet?
Yes. So 2-3 things. So with these bonds, since I worked in fintech industry, lending industry, I knew that these bonds were accessible for HNIs. The thing was, because this is a new asset class, what used to happen is RM would go to HNI, pitch him the product, explain all his question and answer, and then sell him the product, right? To that investment offer.
Okay.
Since these RMs are highly educated, generally MBAs, right? So to recover their cost, the ticket size for the HNIs used to be higher, 50 lakh and above.
Oh.
We said, if we can solve this through technology, right? If we can educate people by using a normal website or app, we can sell it at 10,000. So that was number one. Second, regulation, right? So we figured out there are ways to solve it through regulation. I mean, this is where domain knowledge actually comes in. One of my co-founder is expert in that field.
Okay.
And third is distribution, right? If you are acquiring customers at 10,000, how do you acquire at low CAC? Because if you acquire them at 5,000-10,000, then you are not going to recover the money. So
right.
One is regulation, second is education, and third is distribution. How do you solve for it? And there were tailwinds, right? Because COVID happened back then, so people were spending a lot of time online, taking interest in investment space. So education was fairly easy, right? So things, and then because we had a social media presence, so it gave us initial age to crack distribution, right? I mean, obviously we are just 45,000 customers as of, but we are growing. So in fact, for first 1,000 customers, we spent really zero rupees. Not 1 rupee we spent on paid marketing, right?
Got it.
So the tailwinds came from education, from basically COVID, people were at home. That was the main tailwind. Second, also big tailwind was FD rates were very low in it.
Right.
So people were looking beyond FD, saying FD में नहीं मिलता तो क्या कर सकते?
Got it. So I think those all of those things kind of played a cumulative factor in bringing this model to where it is. And I think that is essentially also where problem statement kind of got amplified when the FD rates also went down in COVID. So वो थोड़ा सा problem statement जो था वो amplify हो गया, maybe by a multiple of 2 or something. And it coincidentally, just a small personal anecdote. COVID is a time when my mom also retired. She was working in a bank in a good position, and she kind of retired from that exactly when COVID started. Like Feb 2020, she retired, and March 2020 is when COVID started. And retirement, when you get all your dues and arrears and all of those things, there was this big question looming in front of us कि यार अभी ये जो पैसे आए उसका करेंगे क्या, right? Because FD kind of dipped down, and lot of other stock markets probably was not the right time. Maybe risk appetite नहीं था उतना कि this is something that's going to last for the rest of our life. You wouldn't want that to be in the stock market, right? That you have to probably diversify it, and that is when we did think of bonds, and obviously we did kind of ended up investing in it through a broker जो कि एक secondary market से कहीं से I don't exactly know how exactly that guy did it. But yeah, the ticket size I remember was pretty big. I mean, if I were to invest it with what I'm doing on a monthly basis, then it becomes very difficult to get that ticket size, right? But since we had lump sums, that made it a lot more easier. But that is where this problem also kind of struck me कि यार ये bonds hai, and these are good instruments that could be actually invested in. So yeah, I think this is probably kind of resonates with people like me, and like if today also I was given an option to invest in this kind of an instrument at a retail ticket size level that you guys are offering, I probably would have been an investor.
Yes,
exactly. So yeah, having said that, how would you kind of explain it to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, what a bond is, and what exactly is that instrument if you're talking about government bonds or corporate bonds?
Yeah, so for 5-year-old, it's like you give me money 100 rupees today, I'll give you 110 rupees after 1 year. So you gain 10 rupees of income.
Got it.
As simple as that, right? Now, there are two kind of people you can give money to. One is government. Right? So government also issues bonds. So these are government securities or GSEC. Another are private players, right? So they also, you can loan them a money. And they will give you, like, they guarantee you giving, let's say, whatever is the aggregate interest rate. They will give it to you, right? On Wint Wealth, basically find good such issuers. Wherever we have comfort, we also invest, right? So what we basically tell our investor is like, I'm not just selling you this bond, I'm also investing in this bond. Generally, not generally, I guess every time more than what we earn, right? So we have skin in the game, and so therefore you can trust our due diligence. And we only list bonds where we have skin in the game. It's not an understood. That's the only differentiating thing.
Understood.
And we give you full transparency. We educate you well. We let you take decision whether to invest or not.
Right. No, interesting. Right. So if we were to kind of increase the complexity a bit, right, take it up a notch. So how would essentially, what would you say happens to the money that we, give to these issuers of the bonds?
Yeah, sure. So currently we only have NBFCs on the platform. NBFCs are non-banking financial companies. They are registered with RBI. So they are the one who basically give out loans. So their business is basically raising money at 10%, probably deploying at 18%, 19%, and make that spread of 8-9%. So we figure out good NBFCs. Help them issue a bond, list that bond on a platform, and you invest in that bond. So you are essentially giving money to an NBFC at about 10-11%. We make about 1%. So they raise money at 11-12%. They deploy it at 18-20%. And there will be some NPS, let's say 1-2%.
Of course.
Some of course 2-3%, and they'll make 3-4% profit. That's them.
Got it. Understood. I think you have really simplified that piece. Yeah, I think that was great. One quick question, right? Essentially, why do you think this specific instrument did not have that much traction yet in India, in the retail segment, to be honest?
I think there is a lot of, I'll tell you, there is a lot of the key reason for this, there is FD arbitrage, right? And I have spoken often about it, right? So let's say a AAA rated bank which gives FD rate of 5%, right? And a BBB rated bank which gives FD rate of 8%.
Right.
Now that BBB rated bank is a bank up to 5 lakh that in money is insured by deposit insurance guarantee or have that scheme.
Right.
So there is a rating, there is a clear arbitrage here, right? There is for you 5% and 8% risk is zero because up to 5 lakh it is guaranteed by government. So
right.
Therefore, you will only invest in a bond if it gives at least 2-3% more than that FD, 8%. You will invest at a 10%.
True.
And those will be lowly rated NBFCs. Not lowly rated, but they will not be AAA rated. So how do you trust a rated NBFC?
Right.
I think that trust was very hard to form. And it could be only solved through technology, right? So how it was earlier solved was through RMs, relationship manager.
Got it.
Therefore, the ticket sizes were high. We are using technology. We don't have a relationship manager. You can land up on the website, understand the asset, decide to invest, and just invest. And that brings down the cost phenomenally.
Understood.
That enables us to acquire customer and unlock this.
Understood. So this is technically, I would say, a relatively fresh instrument from a retail perspective in the market, right? Got it. And according to you, who essentially should be investing in this? What would be the ideal customer persona that should be investing in these kind of instruments?
So, not ideal, I'll tell you who comes in, right? So, somebody who is new in the market, they have expectation of 15-18%.
Right.
And once you invest in market for 3-4 years, you realize कि 10-12% market Nifty 12 देगा. Long term, right? And these are the kind of people who want to diversify beyond equity. So they invest in bonds, right? So you should invest in bonds when you want to diversify beyond equities, right? When you have a short-term capital deployment, right? So your horizon is less than 5 years, right? But you should not park your emergency fund in bonds. It should be generally in FD saving liquid fund, right? So
got it.
Generally, debt wala portion, which means that you need that money back within 5 years, that you should invest in bonds. But emergency fund, you should not invest.
No, of course. No, I think that makes sense. All right. So let's take a scenario maybe 5 years down the line wherein these kind of instruments have kind of penetrated a lot more into the Indian ecosystem and let's say 20-30% of all retail investors are kind of investing into it. How do you see this impacting at a macroeconomic level?
I think if we are successful, I mean, what will enable is lot of SMEs and will have access to public debt market, right?
Right.
And that's very important for their growth, right? And if India has to become a $10 trillion economy, vibrant debt market is very important, right? Because
of course,
right. So and it benefits both. I mean, the retail investors and the SME sector, right? And that will open up and unless that debt is unlocked, the real unlock equity of SMEs will not happen, is what we believe, right? And that would start happening if the retail participant debt market grows.
Understood. How would you essentially look at it when you compare the Indian debt market scenario currently versus the debt market scenario in a developed economy, I would say something like the US or a UK?
Yeah, there the debt market is about 4x of the equity market, right, in terms of size.
From a retail perspective also.
Yeah, not direct bond market, but through mutual funds.
Okay.
Right. So in India, that's not the case. I think debt market in India, if you just compare, the debt mutual fund were about 15 lakh crore. On the other side, equity was about 22, 23. So already it's big. Now after the tax benefit on debt mutual fund is gone now.
Right.
We'll see degrowth, or not degrowth per se, but there will not be much of a. So I think for this to happen, the debt market has to mature, and when it matures, it is basically the big money is always in debt. Because
Right.
people, like, once you have a lot of money, people want to make sure that you just beat inflation. They're not thinking, they just want to make sure that their money is not eaten away by inflation. They don't want to become wealthy they're already wealthy, right? Look at small money, they want to invest in equities and become wealthy, right? So I think it will happen either way or with other.
Got it. All right. On to the last question of this segment. How do you see, the emerging technologies kind of impacting this specific, model that you are building at Wint Wealth? Do you plan on kind of leveraging any of those, and which one kind of excites you the most?
I think, see, when AI as a, whatever happened with GPT-4 and etc., we see that has a large impact on personal finance as a space. Not just
Right.
bond market, but how people take advice, right? There will be definitely some second order effect on our business. So we're
Right.
really excited. We are doing some experiments, but these are very early. But there is, this space is not insulated for technological disruption, is what we can clearly see.
Got it. Perfect. I think that was a very interesting conversation around the entire bond market as well as the wealth market in India. I think pretty insightful. Thank you so much, Ajinkya, for that. Moving on to the final segment and my favorite segment, it's the rapid fire round. 5 to 10 questions will be asked to you, and the key is that you won't have time to think. You have to answer it ASAP, right? No thinking as such. Mostly not too personal as such, but yeah, pretty interesting, fun questions. All right. Having said that, let's get away with it. What is your favorite book?
Favorite book?
Yeah.
I think one that created most impact on me was *Sapiens*, Homo Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari.
Okay. What time do you wake up?
6:30 to 7:30.
How do you disconnect from work once you're home?
It's very hard. I'm trying to learn, right? I think I'm trying to be away from mobile. I think because once you're mobile, then it's very hard to disconnect.
True. Favorite vacation destination?
Maldives. The one I have been to.
Okay. What's your guilty pleasure?
I do a lot. I'm a foodie. I eat a lot of things.
What's your favorite food then?
Misal,
Misal, the Kolhapuri one.
the Nasik one.
Oh, okay. And which is your favorite outlet in Mumbai?
Mumbai, not.
Yeah,
There's no.
tried it yet.
Not a single one that is good.
Ouch. So, which is the favorite missile that you have ever had, or the best missile you ever had?
Best, there are multiple in Nasik.
I see.
Nasik is like a hub of missiles.
अभी तो ट्राई करना पड़ेगा जाके वहाँ पे. Apple or Android?
Android. Apple, Android, definitely Android. Apple, Microsoft, definitely Apple. So I have a MacBook and Google Pixel.
How does that work out for you, the ecosystem?
What's of great?
अच्छा, I thought Android and Apple का उतना synergy नहीं होता.
I don't really, it doesn't matter to me much. I think independently, Android is much open and I prefer it.
Got it.
In terms of laptop, MacBook is 100x better than
Definitely.
Microsoft, Windows.
Definitely. How do you measure success for a startup?
Revenue, finally we are awake. How much money you make and how much profit you make.
I was waiting to hear that. I've had a lot of interesting answers to this. But yeah. What has been your favorite quote so far that inspired you?
Quote?
Quote,
You asked
yeah.
a quote? Not one favorite quote. I think water gives you, water floats the boat, right? So at different point of time you will need different things. So not anything particular, right?
What is one thing that you regret not doing as a founder?
So when we started, we were very bottoms up focused, saying this is the problem, we'll solve it. But when you have to build a large business, you have to also think bottoms up and top down also. We didn't do a lot of top down thinking. We thought only consultants do it, and that's not the way. But slowly we have realized, that's also, you have to be good at really both, right? Bottoms up and top down.
And what is one thing you regret doing as a founder?
And boy, I don't, nothing is coming to mind.
You're blessed. Anyways, last final.
I made a bunch of mistakes, like many mistakes, but that is a part of the game.
Right. No, of course.
I would consider it as a regret if somebody advised me to do it or not do it, and I still ignored that advice and did it anyway. There are a lot of mistakes that you will anyway do because startups are uncharted.
Of course. That's how you learn, with making those mistakes. Final question for the day. One piece of advice for any budding entrepreneurs out there.
Don't start up.
Got it. All right, Ajinkya, I think this has been a time, and it was amazing having you here. You've been really candid and it was really insightful. Thank you for sharing so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.